What's up, internet world? Let me make sure that you can hear me. Test 10 seconds heavy. Test. Sweet. Okay. Apparently you can hear me. So what am I doing today? What I'm doing today is, I'm just broadcasting a picture of myself. Nice. Let me go to, you see my codes? You can see my calculator, but I don't have a face. That's exactly backwards on what I want to do. Yeah! But now that I have changed the settings, let me make sure again you can still hear me. But now that I have changed the settings, so what I'm doing today is live analysis of some new data. I have not even looked at the final results. I did, oh shit, I just looked at one of the charts. I just looked at one of the charts and I didn't really pay attention to the labels, so I don't think this has been jeopardized yet. I did, like halfway through the sampling, take a glance. This is all in SurveyMonkey, right? I didn't really do any details or anything like that. I was mainly just checking to make sure I was getting responses. But, you know, I could not help but notice some of the very high-level trends, such as one of the questions was like, are you a manager? And the answer is like, usually no. Right? Okay, nothing earth-shattering there. But like I did see a couple of the charts. But for the most part, this is all going to be, and I certainly didn't do any regressions or exporting of the data, anything like that. So this is for the most part going to be like, I have never seen this shit before. And so you're going to be able to see how like I open up Stata and like fuck with it. And I don't have friends, but except you guys. But maybe someone will be joining us. Possibly. Oh yeah. All right, so I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to take about 40 seconds-ish to update the live stream title and bother this person that may or may not get Facebook. And this data was sampled today. This is 24 less than a 24-hour window. This is some fresh stuff, like super fresh data. And you can see I have the calculator up. That's because there's a certain thingy that I want to calculate. I want to calculate. I did this with SurveyMonkey, and I bought their responses, and I want to, and then I also did my own kind of trying to gather responses, and I want to calculate that ratio. Third. Okay. So thanks for bearing with me. Or on YouTube chat. All right, cool. So let us begin. Let's see if that develops over there. So this thingy, let me make sure there's nothing like kind of sensitive on this SurveyMonkey page I'm about to show. I don't think so. Boom. So this is the chart that I accidentally saw a second ago. It's the same chart that I was referring to earlier, which doesn't have anything earth-shattering on it. Do you contribute to hiring and firing decisions at your company? Like most people say no. Okay, that's pretty much all I've seen, and so like I really hope that my password is not showing up on the page and that I'm going to be hacked in the near future. But this is the results. Okay, I think I can get away with putting these two windows together. And so this is SurveyMonkey. What you do over here, you go my surveys, right? Create a survey. What plan am I on? I'm on like not the free plan. I'm on the $35 a month plan, which allows you to export data, save as, export. Like why am I paying $35 a month? So that I can do export file as a Excel file. And this is pretty cool. So here are the questions I asked. So I'll walk through them real quick. And I'll give my justifications for like which ones I asked. And then SurveyMonkey also has, really awesome like built-in data when you buy their responses. Philip. Is some number better than no number? Okay. I thought he was going to ask me a question, but I don't see him asking me a question. I think he's posting AEA articles. Economists are crazy, dude. And PhD students are like crazier. I'm not sure if they're crazier. Okay. $35 a month so I can download this stuff. And so the responses come with like gender information, income, household income, the region you live in. I confined this study to the US. So, eventually I'm interested in international questions, but that's like making the research like really broad. And it's obviously you have to deal with more varying factors, and it's harder to draw like really good conclusions. Even if you do draw a conclusion, it's harder to do anything actionable with them. It's not like I can feasibly change policy all around the world, right? It's harder enough to change policy here in the US, or even in like any given particular state, or even in the industry and various firms. Honestly, my best bet is like a few firms are going to pick this up. You need a green screen. Yes, I do, my bro. Yes, I do. So you can just put your face and torso on the screen. That would be awesome. Okay. Drawing international, like, generalizable results is really hard to do. It's a lot easier to draw conclusions that are only applicable within a constrained environment, such as a given state, a few firms, or even the U.S. Actually, even at the U.S. level, it's complicated to draw really strong conclusions at the U.S. level. I have the advantage there of, oh, did not see the password, Eric Wilhelm. My man, thank you so much. Awesome. I have the advantage of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? So Brian Kaplan, brilliant. I don't call a lot of people brilliant. Brian Kaplan is brilliant. Get his book, The Case Against Education. If you haven't read that book, you are ill-informed on the state of education research today. Great book. Came out just recently, this year. Anyway, so he addresses like a bunch of the questions. Like I was just talking to my dad about the research, and he's like, well, you know, what about all these great advantages of a liberal education? And of course you need basics, and it doesn't really matter, you know, if you use like French. The point is that you're learning to learn, and like it's good for your, it's just good to build character, that you need to be a well-rounded person. All these like very common things that will be said to defend the liberal arts education. I don't really have to deal with all those because like Kaplan already dealt with those. So like, thank you. What I get to do is focus on alternative credentials, which is hardly a narrow thing to focus on. Anything other than the 4-year degree is captured under the rubric of alternative credentials. So it's extremely wide. But what I'm really kind of focused on, as you'll see in the survey, is like e-learning, and like Udacity has a nano degree. edX has a MicroMasters with like MIT OpenCourseware. Coursera has something called a specialization. So they have all these like brand names, but like really there's a pretty similar life cycle to the creation and use of these commodities and platforms. Like they're pretty much like e-learning certificates. Let's dive in. Okay, so like I'm very interested. So why did I ask, do you contribute to hiring and firing decisions at your company? Because I want to know what employers think. I want to know what everyone thinks, but I also want to single out employers, because one of my hypotheses is that employers may be a key bottleneck to the normalization of versus entering. What's interesting is how much alternative creds really help you within a firm versus entering a firm. True story. Definitely, if you have any thoughts, like bang it out there. I think we have like not a lot of people watching now, but anyways. I want to know what employers think. So that's why I asked that question. And so hiring and firing decisions. So you can say, oh, well, the firm's an employer, but really the people who make the hiring and firing decisions, when you look into the steps taken to become employed, like they're the gatekeepers, like they hold the key. So this is like recruiting managers, HR executives, actual managers like operations managers, and supervisors, team leads, that sort of thing. Okay, for many professions, alternative credentials can qualify a person for an entry-level position. So why did I say for many professions? I know out of the gate that is not true for all professions. Some professions, such as law, certain kinds of medicine, education, and other things which are legally regulated, you can know your stuff and it doesn't matter. You legally have to get a degree from a certain kind of institution. Garrett Jones recently got credentialed as a sherry connoisseur. That's dope. Garrett Jones is the man. HiveMind. Check out HiveMind. Good stuff. So I didn't want people's attention to be drawn to those edge cases, as it often naturally is. I wanted them to think about so Kaplan is really big about talking about like the average person, or like most people, right? And so so think about like if I was kind of like a financial consultant to you, okay, then I'm targeting you as a likely customer, not every possible customer. So what I'm trying to say is like most people is what I'm interested in. Is this going to work for most people? It doesn't have to work for everyone. So that's why I said for many professions, cut out the edge cases. Alternative credentials, right? And I did also give them a statement about what an alternative credential is. Let's see if I can pull up that statement. All right, so here's a draft article. It's not ready to be published, so you're seeing the admin side of my WordPress blog. I wrote this before I published the survey. And one of the things it includes is the statement that I gave, I think. Maybe not. Okay, I think I cut it out. I don't think I copied it. So I gave him a statement basically just describing what alternative credentials are, and I said that they are like not a 4-year degree. Okay, that's the summary. It's not a 4-year degree, and I gave them an example of Udacity's nano degree. So this, and qualify a person for an entry-level position. Why did I focus on the entry level? Again, it's all about bottleneck analysis is what I care about. So what we know, and this is actually to Eric's point. So he says, it's interesting how much alternative credentials really help you within a firm versus entering a firm. He's totally right. So alternative credentials already work. They already work if you're in the firm. That's not really an interesting question. We already know for people such as myself, once I'm a developer, which I am, that's my day job, I'm a programmer. We know that if I'm programming in one language and I go to a boot camp and get certified in another language, that works today. I can use that and I can go to my current employer or another employer and they're going to look at my experience and it's going to be good enough. If you have experience, you really don't even need a degree. We know this. So Google's research indicates that after about 3 years, no one cares about your degree. I think Brian Kaplan would say the degree matters a little more than that. So anyway, suppose it matters a little more than that. It doesn't matter much more than that. The interesting question in my book is, can I skip the degree altogether? Can I skip the degree altogether? In the past, the answer was certainly not. Almost certainly not. In the far, far past, the answer was no one goes to college, and that was like 50s and earlier, like you just go to high school, that's it. Then we had kind of the rise of the new normal, which is everyone has to go to college. And then the question is that new normal expiring as we speak? That's what's interesting to me. We know, and in fact, I can tell you that like at my work where I hire, there are certain positions of programming where if you do some certifications, you come in with a portfolio of work, you pass a grueling technical interview, it doesn't bother us if you don't have a degree. Okay? We can tell if you're awesome. You're not necessarily able to do that same kind of analysis across all professions. There's certain professions where it's really hard to do that. You can ask a math question like 2 + 2 = 4. These are things you can check a box. But when it comes to something like business analysis, it's really hard to do that, right? Programming, you can do that. Like you're either right or wrong, right? So I can put you through a technical interview and pretty much find out if you know what you're doing. You can create a portfolio. Are you going to have a portfolio of business analysis? That's kind of weird. No one really does that. Maybe what you could do is collect a bunch of alternative credentials and then go to an interview without the degree. Because again, once you get that first job, you're pretty much good, and it doesn't really matter if you went to university. So that's why I target an entry-level position. I care in particular about an entry-level position. The other side of the coin is those are probably a great opportunity for alternative credentials to be used. It's like we are not hiring you directly as a senior based on these possibly flimsy alternative credentials. We are only hiring you as an entry-level position. So maybe employers are willing to budge. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, and you can see like most people, and why did I do a scale of 0 to 10? So You know, one of my friends, Cody, made a good point. He said, when you have these large scales, people tend to go for the extremes. That's absolutely true. So I did that on purpose because I did not want to have like a 1 to 4, right? I would have done 1 to 4 as the other. I would not have done 1 to 5. Everyone picks 3. And the problem is you cannot detect an effect. So I would have done 1 to 4, but my fear is I still would not have been able to detect an effect. Again, I'll run the regression, but with 141 answers, let's look at these. 11, 17, 19, right? So 36, 47. What number is this? No label. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, strongly agree had a huge amount of 20. So almost no one said under 4. So the average is definitely over 5. And again, I'll run the regression, but I think that's statistically significant. Just kind of looking at it, it looks statistically significant. Would also be cool to know 4-year college requirements for entry-level positions by industry occupation. Absolutely. Would also be cool to know 4-year college requirements for entry-level positions by industry occupation. I believe that information's out there. So yeah, I'll have to compile that and sort of crystallize it and gather it and directly compare it to what I'm working with. Because that's certainly relevant. Good point. Oh, it has the weighted average. So here's the weighted average 6 points. Yeah. Whether the entry-level position requires a 4-year degree. Because not all of them do, right? So I think that's statistically significant. So I think we can say, anyway, very early result is that most people think alternative credentials can qualify a person for an entry-level position. That's extremely optimistic in my book. Now, what I would want to do, and actually I sort of expected this, but what I would want to do is cross-tab that against the people who can make hiring and firing decisions, and I expect that they are going to be less supportive. So, but what I literally don't know, I don't even have a preconception, is are they going to be above or below a 5? So I think that if we look at just the managers, it's going to be less than a 6.71 on average, but I don't know, will it be less than a 5? That's one of the interesting things I wanted to get out of this. So in other words, are they open to it, or are they pessimistic on it already? It will soon become fairly conventional for high school graduates to obtain alternative credentials instead of going to college. Why did I ask this question? Right, so here, the alternative credential can qualify you for an entry-level position. But if I am asked that question, it does not imply to me that I'm not also going to college. So this is testing, is it going to substitute for college? Not only is it good enough to get its own job, is it actually going to substitute? And a lot of people think so, that it will become fairly conventional. Again, why fairly conventional? Because I don't want it. I don't want people to think of these edge cases, because we know that edge cases exist. Law, right? You have to go to law school. Virtually. There are some really weird things you can do. If you take the bar in DC, there's like some really weird things you can do. But like by and large, like you have to go to law school, right? To become an MD, and certain other things. But I want to look at sort of like the mean, the median, and the norms. Okay, here's a really weird question. A lot of people said, John, why'd you even ask this question? And look at that result. It's under a 5. I'm surprised by that. I don't know if I'm surprised by that, actually. When you add up all the pros and cons for cryptocurrency, it's probably a good thing for society overall. So what I'm trying to detect here is anti-innovation bias. I want to find those people. So there are those people who are just completely old school and sort of like regressive. And like, I'm not saying conservative, I'm saying regressive. I'm like prohibitionist. So they don't want radical change. And I don't mean that in like the progressive liberal sense. They don't want a lot of change. or they have an anti-innovation bias. Like new technologies freak them out in general. It's nothing to do with the particularities of alternative credentials. It's the general notion of radical social change driven by technologies freaks them out. So like have you ever talked about like the possibilities of AI with someone and they completely freak out? Or like the person you're like, well, we could have flying cars, and they're like, but everyone will like be fucking dropping like flies, and there will be like giant explosions, and like it'll be worse. It'll be worse with flying cars. It'll be worse with self-driving cars, right? Like the NSA will hack your shit and smash you into a wall, and like Orwell will control all. Like So some people, radical technology just freaks them out. Hashtag disruption, dude. Yes. Some people, technology just freaks them out. And so I fully admit this is not a robust panel to detect anti-innovation bias, but it is something. So the point being, if someone doesn't like cryptocurrency and they don't like alternative credentials in e-learning, maybe it's not anything particular about alternative credentials. It's just a general opposition to radical technical change. So we can correct for that now. It's a rough correction, but it's a correction. And the interesting thing to me is that I was actually not sure if this was going to come out over or under a 5. Okay, but suppose somebody says cryptocurrency, great. Alternative credentials, awful. Okay, probably a libertarian, right? No, I'm just kidding. That person is demonstrated not to have an anti-innovation bias. They're cool with radical change. They just don't like alternative credentials. So some of those cross-tabulations are going to be really interesting, especially because we have like ethnicity and region and gender and age and income. Some of those effects, I think, they're going to be really interesting to me, and I'll probably find something surprising. Right, and so you can see that this question, I phrased it almost exactly the same. I just swapped cryptocurrency for online education. When you add up the pros and cons for online education, it's probably a good thing for society overall. So that is a 6, it's like a 7. So, and that's higher than people who thinks it can qualify for an entry-level position. Good, that means even if you don't think it will qualify you for an entry-level position, it's still good. Okay, but I'm not even sure it's statistically different. I would say it's anyway. We'll measure that, but I think it's roughly the same. It's like there's about this like 6.9 level of positivity in any case. And I do, and by the way, so to that point about people go to the extremes, I agree. Now that, given that this establishes an effect, I may go and start using the 4 scale. Likert, is 4 a Likert? I'm not really sure. I may do that because that does help you pin like labels and meaning to each option in a more precise way. Sometimes. Actually, sometimes you get a worse result because you're compressing the scale. But it would be worth looking into anyway. Right, so people, and then here's a headline, right? So here's a blog article, a magazine article anyway. I think I'll probably write this and submit it somewhere. People like online education more than cryptocurrency. Isn't that a positive? Some of these investors think cryptocurrency is so cool. Look at EdTech. EdTech's cool. Why did I ask this question? When evaluating an applicant's education, it is important. There was a typo, and a lot of people pointed this out to me. Like, man, like a quarter of the participants pointed this out to me. But I let it stand because I didn't want to edit the survey while it was being taken. Anyway, when evaluating an applicant's education, it is important to check whether the degree was awarded from a U.S. institution. So obviously, my personal opinion is like the answer is like no, right? If they're technically good, this is a meritocracy. But what I was trying to detect there was an anti-foreign bias. So Kaplan has very well established that anti-foreign bias is a thing, and it screws with people's economic decision making. I want to correct for that. We know it exists. I need to correct for it. Therefore, I asked the question. it's also just a curiosity to me, like how potent is that effect? So look at that effect, man. It's there. 6.2 was the average. And there's an important point here before we go throwing labels of anti-foreign bias. It could be the case, actually it largely is the case, that U.S. institutions are in fact better than foreign institutions. But those ratios might not be aligned. It might not be the case 6.2 over 5, that is the ratio at which U.S. institutions on average are better than foreign institutions. So Eric said he's surprised. He is surprised by the existence of anti-foreign bias. I'm not, man. I'm really not. I wish I could say that like nationalism wasn't a thing that affects a lot of people, but it is. Have you heard of any of the following online course providers? 66 skipped. I'm not sure that's true. I think those people might just not have heard of any of them because this was an optional question. Really, I was it was a checkbox. You could select multiple of them. And I didn't know a way to like officially I guess I should have had a checkbox that said none of the above and then made it required. That would probably have been a better idea. So include missings as part of the summary. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. So I think I kind of botched this question, but I'll definitely be reporting the missings. I might need to resurvey this question. The point being is that like a lot of people know about these, and specifically which ones: Udacity, Coursera, Lynda. I guess programmers know about Pluralsight, but like not a lot of other people, because I knew about Pluralsight before I knew about Lynda. But Lynda is like a big supporter for a lot of corporations. And so why does it matter? Is I just wanted to gauge overall familiarity and familiarity with which ones, and also to sort of level set me, like maybe I'm going to eventually have to study like multi-specific platforms and providers. So like maybe I should prioritize the ones that are better known. Actually, I've already targeted Udacity, and I've scraped some data. You can see Scrapey, how to scrape websites. I've been scraping Udacity. They blocked my personal computer. I'm a white hat, dude. Don't block me. This is for science. Here's some Udacity data right here. Okay, cool. We're almost through the questions, and then I'll get to the regressions. I imagine some of y'all are here for that. Do you work in a STEM profession? No. Almost everyone said no. Unsure. Actually, I'm surprised by how few people said unsure. Part of my research, I want to demonstrate that STEM doesn't matter. The label is relatively meaningless. So we always talk about, oh, STEM jobs are so great. But like nursing, for example, is that STEM? The state of Florida says yes. The other 49 states say no. So there's not actually even a real standard around what STEM means. And until looking at this, so I have the impression a lot of people don't know which specific professions are and are not STEM. You may know which degrees. That's relatively straightforward. What about the professions? I really do. My intuition is that no is overconfident. That really a bunch of people who said no, well, you know what? It might be true, man. I really don't know. But I have an intuition that some of the people who said yes and no are mistaken, even though they think they know, they may not know. Anyway, I'll let that go. But that's the reason I asked that question, to add to the discussion about, is STEM really a valuable designation? I don't think it's specific enough. And again, almost everything is STEM, even art. You say, art's not STEM. I'm a programmer. I make websites. If someone does UX, they're using Photoshop to construct what a website should look like. That falls under technology and is considered a STEM profession. Okay? But they have an art degree. videography. Like so many of these things are STEM, even if like it's hard to conceive of what doesn't touch on STEM. Okay. Which of these industries most closely matches your profession? Got a bunch of others. Yeah, so this is just basically trying to correct and see if there's any significance here. I might have asked about too many industries that thinned out the sample, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'll get an effect from information technology, which would be great because my intuition is that IT jobs lend themselves to alternative credentials. It would be great if I can pick that up. And for example, I knew law. I had a list that I found from research. Law, certain kinds of health, accounting, and some of these other industries lend themselves against alternative credentials. Because, for example, you have to pass the bar. It doesn't matter how many alternative credentials you have, right? You have to get an MD with a residency. You have to get a residency through a university, an accredited university, right? Like you can't go on Udacity, take some nursing courses, and then do a residency. That's not how it just doesn't work like that. So I wanted to correct for some of those like obvious effects. And we'll see if I can pick up any positive effects. I'm not sure. I think it was more just kind of taking out known noise. Age is great. Got a bunch of old people here. That's lit. That's lit, fam. I'm really, really, really upset that I have no under 18s. I don't know if I accidentally did that myself, or if like Udacity doesn't allow it, or like I don't know what happened. But I'm really upset by that because that's an age group that really matters if we're talking about over the next 5, 10, 20 years, you don't need to go to college. Understanding their attitudinal position, the under 18s, is critical. And I also think 18 to 29, 30, underrepresented. So if I repeat this study, and I have a decent sample, so I'll probably get some cross effects. Some significant effects when I cross tab by older age. I really want to rerun this and like crank up the sample for under 18s. And I will be doing this survey again because I want a panel. So I don't know if I'll do it again in 3 months or 6 months and probably repeat that. You know, I don't want to be doing my dissertation forever, but it'll be at least a year-long panel, maybe a 2-year-long panel. And then you know, maybe I cut the legs out from under it and only do a year long, and then I get my PhD and I have another paper in a year or two where I just continue the panel past my dissertation. Because I'd love to do like a 3 or 5 year panel on this eventually, but I don't want to be in my program for that long. So now we're getting to that was industry. Question 9 was my last question. Everything else, SurveyMonkey gives you from the audience. So I got age, gender. You can see it skipped 38. Those are not really skipped. What really happened is the 38 are basically like people who took the survey because I personally gave them a link, mostly through social media. And then the 103 are respondents that are paid by SurveyMonkey to complete surveys. Obviously, I have a Boolean for that factor. So it's sort of like an additional question in and of itself. Are you from the group 1 or group 2? And I can look for significant effects there, but I don't really expect to find anything. I would expect to find a lot of stuff on the raw correlations. Oh, are the skipped bias male? Yeah, almost certainly. So great point, Eric. So what I was about to say is I would definitely be sure to measure the bias in skipped. Yes, agree. I would almost certainly expect there to be a raw delta in this group. But once I correct for age, income, education, all the other factors, after multivariate correction, I don't expect there to be large differences around the questions of interest. But I'll measure it anyway. It's certainly, and the more material for the dissertation, right? You got to fill that fucker up. So might as well spend some paragraphs on it. Device type. This SurveyMonkey just gives it to me. I don't know why it matters, except that, Apple might correlate with a lower IQ, but just kidding. I want an iPhone. That's the questions. Let's export this baby. So if you're in SurveyMonkey, you can go to My Surveys. You create a survey. Here it shows up. You can click right here. This will, whenever you create it, it will take you to design and then eventually collect responses. So you can see here are my two groups. Both taken on the 26th. It is true that I left mine open for about a dozen extra hours. Then analyze results. And this is where we just were. When you're on analyze results, they do have a data trends thing. You can kind of look at this. But I want to do the analysis myself. So here's the response rate. These guys are pretty much like SurveyMonkey blasted out an email and then they all knocked it out by like 3 in the morning, which is crazy. And then my friends slept in until 7 a.m. And then some filled it out when they got off work and I cut it off. They got some cool stuff and some cool graphics. I might use some of these. But for complicated correlations, I got to use Stata. So I'm not really sure. Export survey results for each respondent. Yes. Export survey results for each the same way they appear under the individual responses tab. I guess I'll export them both. I've done surveys on SurveyMonkey before, but I can't really remember the difference. Responses, data, individual response. I don't want individual responses. Going with XLS. I really want CSV, but I'll go with XLS. Yeah, I want the original view. Condensed columns, I think I want. So I'll check them both in. I'm going to put this on GitHub, by the way, so you have access to the data. It's all anonymized. But if you want to do your own analysis, that will be available. Put the link in the description. My legacy croissants data from the croissant study, that's also available on GitHub. It's the Data Science Practice project, GitHub project. So this is new data long, and then I'll go get the condensed. Hopefully I didn't just download condensed twice in a row, because I legit don't know. New data condensed. My GitHub data. I'll be analyzing this using Stata, which kind of sucks because now I have Udacity spread across I have Udacity Python stuff, Udacity JavaScript, and that's pretty much it. And now I have Udacity Stata. It is what it is. I'm running this scraper in the background, so I've got no need. Okay. If Eric's still tuned in, man, he could maybe help me with this Stata thing. I think it might be better with Stata. But let's see what we're working with. WIF, WIF. Alternative creds baseline attitudinal. I'm not going to exploratory analysis. Okay, we'll call it the exploratory analysis, and I'm going to extract to here. Pzip is like a super mediocre zip tool. So I used to strongly recommend it, but less and less every day. But this doesn't help them. Okay, data long. Data long. Seven zip all day. Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that's probably good. So here's CSV. Good. Here's Excel. Good. I'm going to check all this in, and then I'm really only going to mess with one, though. And then one second, I'm going to go check Facebook. If I told them they could ask me on the live chat on Facebook. Okay, cool. Boom, boom. Now I just want to, so I'm going to check these in, and then I'm going to compare files and make sure I'm not tripping. Fortis keeps asking me for my credentials. Like, I don't want you. Not bad. All right, I'm gonna turn the screen black for a minute. Or you can just look at my face again. Monitor and audio. Monitor. No, that's not. Just webcam with audio. Look at my giant face. I need to clean this beard up. You can't see my passwords. Y'all are not even good at hacking. Cool. Are you back? Are you guys back? Back. Okay, awesome. So, y'all, oh yeah, what was I going to look at with this calculator, by the way? Was the ratio of SurveyMonkey to not SurveyMonkey respondents. 103 out of 141. So something like 27%. That's awesome. I way overshot what I actually paid for. I paid for 80. And then SurveyMonkey gives you some extra because they survey extra people in case their response rate is less than 100%. So I paid for 80, they gave me 103, and then I got like 38 from friends and social media. That was really great. I actually had a better sample than I thought I would. Okay. Let's drop the CSV over the other CSV. I always prefer CSV because of source control. You can't do it with binary, so replace it. So it's green, which means Git did not detect a change, which indicates that it's the same file at the level of text characters. This is the text, which means that I downloaded condensed twice. So let me get the actual not condensed one, expanded. Current view. This will be expanded. Mechanical Turk. I didn't get it. Hashtag Amazon. Not smart enough to. Oh no. Cool. So here is the actually expanded. Okay, let me delete this. This is long. Boom. All right, and just for testing's sake, you can see how it's red. That's different. Just for testing's sake, I'm going to paste it in here too. Place. So it's red. So this is not. Revert that one. And this is expanded data correction. And so I can, whenever I talk about reproducibility, man, whenever I turn to my research, I can just give someone my Git history and just hand them the URL for GitHub. And they can look at every change I made to the data, and they can trace it back to the source. They can look at the scripts. If I transform data using some post-processing scripts in Python or JavaScript or whatever, I'm going to check those in too. Just everything is so reproducible, dude. It's so reproducible. Like, this is not like reproducibility crisis over. You feel me? Just over. Why are you still seeing my calculator? Okay. You're not seeing the whole monitor. Oh, no. I have my own preview on pause. I'm dumb. Okay. So I'll add my own README. Yeah, bingo. So this is a markdown file. Team, no reproducibility crisis. We got to come up with like a catchier thing though. Like that's a mouthful, right? Team reproducibility. So here's a markdown README. So this IDE is called Brackets. It's free and it's great if you're a coder. You can do plugins like here's a markdown preview. What I'm going to say is title. Just a notes section is all I have. And I'm going to go grab related project. So I noted some related projects, and then what other notes am I going to add? Let me double check the data. I think I want to use the condensed data. And what's the difference? I'll show you the difference. Do you contribute to hiring and firing decisions at your company? Yes, no, yes, no, unemployed, all in one column J. Okay? Expanded is going to take up 3 columns for the same information. Data long, CSV. Do you contribute to hiring and firing decisions? Yes, no, unemployed. And so it has 3 columns instead of the 1. That's the difference. Yes, no, unemployed. Actually, I don't know. I can definitely see there would be cases where it'd be easier to use this to in-sheet into a processor like Stata. I don't know. I'm not going to do it though. Like these, you see it's treating like for many professions, strongly disagree all the way through strongly agree. It's treating them all as categorical variables where I want that to be continuous variable. So I'm going to say condensed. And then this, yes, no, unemployed, I will have to split that back into, well, I think I'm going to end up splitting that into categorical variables anyway. So they'll be dummies or booleans. But I think net on net, the condensed is going to be easier for me to work with. But I can definitely see there's use cases for this. And why did I download the long at all if I knew I was going to use condensed? It's because I wasn't sure, like device type, region, hide those IVs. Yeah. I wasn't sure if device type and region and stuff would appear on condensed. So let me check that. Device type and region. Got them. Great. Yeah, it's really not nice for me to show IP, so I'll get rid of that. I use the condensed data. Let me say it differently. Check get history for expanded data. File under data long. Okay. So add the version files. I guess I just am going to stop for a hot minute. It's asking for my. This text editor is called brackets, and I use it for coding. I don't use it for the Stata portion we'll be getting to shortly. So I'm going to delete data long. It's in the Git history now. It's stored. If you want that long file, you can go get it, but I'm going to delete data long. Cool, let's do some Stater. Stater. I tried to push again. I'm just going to commit and not push. Okay. Here's my Stata. I got 13. I think this thing is maybe cracked, maybe. I'm not really sure. And then why don't I just use 14? I have 14 installed right here. My key expired on it. So I'll use 13. And dude, you know, I'm not ashamed to Google. I think I know EndSheet. I don't even think I need to type EndSheet. but y'all are going to realize real quick. Oh, did it issue? No, okay. You can do it through the interface as well. Data. Import. Import. Text data. These are my results files from ARM. Oh wow. Okay, so we in sheet it and it's going to let us preview that stuff. Oh, you know what? Here, let me delete those IPs. I mean, if like they're kind of toast anyway, because like people can come like look at this. Respondent ID, collector ID, start date, end date, IP address, email address. Get rid of all this stuff. I'm not going to get rid of first name. I will get rid of last name. Do I even have first name on anybody? So first name can be used for gender. Check this out. So I don't have anyone's first name, so I'll get rid of it. What is that? Custom data. I'll get rid of that stuff. I'm also going to get rid of device type because even if I do find a correlation, I'm not going to try and interpret that. So I'm going to leave this alone for now. Remove extraneous columns. Okay. There I go trying to push again. I forgot what I was saying. Something about how if someone really wants to hack those people, they can still find it. But it's not really, I don't think that. What's up? Sounds good. Okay, so let's import. Okay. Cool. So I need to work with a do file. This you'll just see this is how I do Stata. I'm not sure everyone does Stata the same way. Stata. New. So I just make an analysis.do. And I also want to crack open a different Stata project from croissants, really any of them, just so that I can refer to the other .do's that I have. In fact, I will do this. I'll open up my entire Stata folder as a brackets project. So you can see right here, I have my analysis.do from this project. I guess I don't have an analysis.do for twins. Robocall study, here's a do file. And this basically is just, oh, and here's an analysis.do. Always be referencing previous code. Amen. No one can remember this shit, right? That's the open secret of programming. Like, no one can remember this shit. So you look at your old code, you just kind of remember, oh, I remember what that did. I have a need for that use case, and I know where to find it. And then you can refer to that, and it'll jog your memory. Also, Stack Overflow and Google exist. So, like, yeah. Croissants.do, I use that nomenclature, but it's really, this is my analysis file. I really should be better about always calling it analysis.do. So my entrepreneurship study, it looks like one of the better do files. I mind, man. I don't know. This is kind of nifty right here. Test out. That's cool when you make your actual chart. I think I'm going to use this as kind of my basis. I use STOUT here. I don't use STOUT. So maybe I need to refer to all of them actually. It's a tab. I'm probably going to have to bounce around. So yeah, so first thing I do, import delimited. Right, this, you're not going to be able to use the same command. Can I use a relative path in a do file? Not really sure. So here I did not. So whoever tries to reproduce this, they'll just, I'm going to kill myself. Awesome. Whoever tries to reproduce this, or delete. See you, Eric. Eric's rolling out. Thanks for stopping by, sir. Yep. Trying to get my path. Why is this so hard? Okay. I think this is import delimited. Density, exploratory analysis. Oh no, I gotta keep going. Okay. So let me drop all, and when I do this stuff, I'm just constantly like, is that not clear? Sum bar. So I got no variables now, right? And file do, and I work with my do file because I don't want to run the risk of like, you know, having code that I didn't capture in this do file. Okay. Great. And also this way I can set sum. So actually I don't really put sum in my do file. That's just something I just kind of do over here. So basically my workflow is I mess around here in the command line, and then I put the essentials in my do file. One of the essentials would be like renaming variables. So observation is 0. Blowing my mind, dude. It's not 0. What's happening? Okay. Browse the data editor. Wow, chicka wow wow. Okay. I think I know what's going on. I think I was not able to determine the data type, I guess. You contribute to hiring and firing decisions at your company. I want to break that into 2 variables. Are you unemployed? And hiring and firing decisions. All right, let's do it. Again. Okay. We're going to gen be unemployed. I'll just call it unemployed. When I program, I use Hungarian, and so B is like a Boolean, but I don't really do that when I use Stata. And it might be a good idea to start doing that, but like sometimes it affects like tables and charts that end up coming out, and I don't want those written in Hungarian. Response should not be there. I think I need to clip. Oh, I need to clip a row from the data. This is so let's see what I can go ahead and manipulate in the Excel file so that I don't have to transform it in Stata. I often like to transform it in Stata so that I have the script, so that the source data is as true to the original as possible, and then I have the script doing the transformations, and it's highly reproducible and less subject to error. But it's also more work, so I'm going to go for the less work option right here. So first of all, I'm just removing this row. When I do transformations by hand, remove extraneous. I like to commit frequently, which makes issues easier to detect if you commit frequently. It's like I just removed one row, right? So here I'm just going to create one variable. Actually, it would be better if I do an if. So that is the unemployed variable. This will be called employer. If C is equal to yes, employer. So I made the, and now that I have closed it in CSV and reopened it, it's no longer a formula, it's a static value, which I like. I don't like having the formula, I like working with values. If you're like an Excel person, you're like, oh, I don't want to lose my formula, then like keep in mind, you'll lose your formula in CSV. So unemployed and employer replace this question. I don't need it anymore. Again, this would be nice to have it done in Stata code. Strongly agree is everywhere equal to n. Strongly disagree is everywhere equal to 0. I'm going to do a replacement. Find strongly agree. Replace with 10. Replace all. Boom. Strongly disagree. Replace with 0. Replace all. Boom. Okay. Boom. And again, this will be a single commit. Numeric, strongly agree, disagree. I want to create a count of these providers. So it's just like, how many providers have you heard of? Because the idea being, if you've heard of a lot of these providers, you're probably highly familiar with alternative credentials. And then the question is, if you're highly familiar with alternative credentials, do you tend to favor or disfavor alternative credentials? Obviously, natural intuition would be, if you're highly familiar with them, you're going to approve of them. Because there's bidirectional causality, and it's almost like I approve of them before I seek them out and learn about them, is one direction of causality. And then there's also like a familiarity bias, where it's like the things that I know I'm more comfortable with, and so the people who are less familiar, right? So that would be the intuition, but the data may show otherwise, but I bet it won't. Okay. So I'm going to turn all of these into ones, and then I'm going to sum them. Sum known. Okay, now I'm going to call it a count. Known provider count. Be gassy. All right, so you can see I'm getting numeric gender. And all these correlations, they're eventually going to have to be categorical variables. Well, that's not true. They can be continuous, interval, they can be all sorts of different things. But yeah, I'm not even positive it's necessary to transfer male empty over to 0, 1. Maybe complete unnecessary. But I done did it. We got known provider count and numeric gender. Known provider count and numeric. So I can remove gender. I'll just keep these. I think I can keep them. I think there's like a split command. We're going to. So I think this data is good to go at this point. Okay. Is move extra gender var. Okay. Anything like split. Interesting, split beginner. I dot. I dot is the name of the game. Yeah. So if I do I dot, that's the categorical. Okay, so let's make sure I got my variables. It's clear. Port. I want to see some doggone observations this time. Okay. Do you work? All right, so we got some observations this time. Again, I think it's because we're able to effectively parse this time. And I think it's because there was that extra row. It was throwing a lot of stuff off. It was making things... yeah, I'm not sure if that was it. It was like confusing numbers and strings and so forth. Region. I've done region before. How did I handle? Croissants. Do I have region? I.US region. You can see first up I labeled them. So US region already exists. Region exists. Let me have I.region. Factor, variables, and time series operators not allowed. String variables. String variable may not be used as a factor variable. Okay, so why could I do it here? Why did I clear super? Croissants stacked. Okay. This was to generate some charts, and this is analysis. Stack.csv. Let's see how that looks. region. Yeah, so I made everything. I made everything numeric. And then when it came time for analysis, I just remapped which region was which. So I can do that if I need to. But let's see if I need to. Roll me a Google. Intelligence check. Failed. String categorical variable. Oh, string to categorical Stata. In a case where your string variables are in fact strings, you have to tell Stata to encode. I feel like my brain's melting. String variables need to be categorical. Stata, this is often true because Stata treats string encoded variables as missing. That's exactly what happened. That's why these are showing 0 observation. They're categorical. Let me label these because it doesn't even work. For many, okay. So we're going to label. Bar, okay. No, I think I need. Okay, so the gen qualify. I'm going to gen entry level qualifies entry level equal. Is that too long? Qualifies entry. Yeah, qualifies entry sounds better anyway. Qualifies entry. Okay. And static comments are // It's going to be rename long bars. Okay. This will be called soon. So this will be called soon convention. We just call it soon. You know what? I'm not even sure I like this. I like the Q1, Q2. Okay. Yeah, I don't like Q1, Q2. And so I don't actually even, so I can just. Okay. Down case it. Ends up down. I'll leave it up. This is Q2. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. STEM called industry, age, male, income, region, provider, count. Okay. I'll just rename them here. All right, so I got all these. Let me just do it. No, I need to make sure my variables are right. These need to get fixed. Fix, 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 fix. Brain's falling apart, y'all. Okay. Generate the real. You know who's awesome at this? Josh. Fucking Josh. Okay. Okay, dstring. Yeah. I did this before. Okay. If you want to replace the existing variable, the command is simply dstring. If, for example, you had a gender variable consisting of ones and zeros that encoded as string and was therefore all numbers, you could use the dstring command. So which of these do I think I could dstring? Let's try and dstring them all. Dstring industry. Must specify either generate or replace option. I don't think that's how I did it before. Let's see. Okay. Oh, it is. Okay, I generated. So dstring and generate this thing. All right, let's do it. I'm going to string, yeah, D string industry. Can I say replace? Industry contains non-numeric characters. Of course, it contains non-numeric characters. Okay, so I do need to split them. Okay, I think this is a different thing. Stata, split string. Split splits the contents of a string variable into one or more parts using one or more parse strings so that new string variables are generated. Thus, split is useful for separating words or other parts of a string variable. Let's see if I use split anywhere. Splitting cow as cow. Right? Maybe this is what I. Oh, you're gone. No. No. I hate it when an article I cite is gone. I'm called dummy. Okay, tab agent B. How can get ANOVA main effects with dummy code? Tab group, okay. How can I create dummy variables in Stata? There are two easy ways to create dummy variables in Stata. Let's begin with a simple data set that is 3 levels. Right? We can create dummy variables using the tab command and generate shown below. This is created dum1, dum2, and dum3. 1, 2, 3. Precisely what I want. That is precisely what I want, dog. Ready to go? Sure. All right, friends, it's been fun. I'm going to go to a piano bar now. Let me do just one little tiny thing. Quite right. Quite right. This will be less than 60 seconds. Provider count. Okay, so reg, unemployed, employer, Q2, Q3, Q4, back, Q6, provider, male. Boom. Show me the statistics. My R squared is 0.13. What a shitty regression. Nothing is significant. employer is significant. Look at that. It's like the only thing that's significant at the 5% level. And it has a coefficient of minus 0.21. So I'm going to drill down on this more later, but looking at it at a first glance, employers are 0.21. Oh, nope, that was a really, I did that regression. Q2, which one is the one that says support Q?
It's 120 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to do more research. All right.